Okay, welcome back. This is the seventh lesson of grade 10. This is about factors of quadratic expressions. Now, you all have a basic idea about normal linear equations. That is where you solve simultaneous equations. Also, you know for examples like equations like 2x plus 4. These are called linear equations. That is because now when you look at this x, you have to the power how much? It is equal to 1. Although it is 1, we don't write it. Okay, it's not 0, it is 1. Now if you have x to the power 1, we call it what? Yeah, linear types of equations. Now in this quadratic equation, it is just like this equation, but somewhere on this equation you have the maximum power x can take is to the power 2. For an example, 3x squared plus maybe 5. Understand? The maximum it can take is x squared. It also can have equations like 4x squared minus 2x plus 5. What is the requirement for quadratic equation? Yeah, the only thing is in this x, the maximum power it can take is to the power 2. Is that clear? Okay, now here with this quadratic equation, we are going to study something called factorizing. Since you know the meaning of factorizing, let us just check the earlier work you have done in this factorizing. Okay, now for an example, consider the example 2a squared minus 4ab. Now what is meant by factorizing? Making it small. In other words, taking the common terms outside. Okay, now if you look here, there are two terms. Okay, now what I am going to do is, since I have to factorize, I have to take the common term outside. Now if you look here, 2 is common to both, right? Yes, both can be divided by 2, and also a is common to both. It is not a squared, a is common. Okay, now these are the things you have studied earlier. Therefore, if I take 2a out, what is left here? Only a minus. So since you take 2 out, 2 is left. Therefore, 4a and b should be written. Is that clear? Okay, one more example, factorizing. Let us go to a larger term. ab squared c minus abc squared. Now look at all these terms. You have ABC common, ABC, ABC. You cannot take anything more than A or B or C. That is because the maximum power you can take out is ABC. That is the power 1 from each of these expressions. Understand? So I'll take ABC out. So if I take ABC out, what is left here? After taking ABC, you have only A left here. Here B is left, and here C is left. That's all you can do factorizing. Is that clear? Yes. And one more example. Example number 3. Let us check if you are okay with signs. This is x is there, okay, minus y, and also q minus 2p. Okay, now look here, this is one term. From that you have to subtract y into q minus 2p. Understand? This all together makes like one term, and this all together is like one term. Okay, now how do you factorize? From these two terms, these two, the whole term, do you have common ones? No, right? But you can observe that the thing what is inside the bracket, it looks bit similar. Here you have 2p minus q, here you have q minus 2p. A small change in sign. Therefore, what I am going to do is, I am going to take minus out in the second expression. Okay, therefore the first expression I have the same thing, 2p minus q. This is the first term, first expression, that is done. So here I am going to factorize minus 1. The meaning of taking minus out means I am going to take minus out. So minus 1, when it comes out, it gets multiplied by minus y. So what is the answer? Minus into minus will give you plus. Okay, Now since I have taken minus out, what is left here? It is plus 2p. And also if I take minus 1, in order since you have plus here, in order to get plus, it should be minus q. Is that clear? It is just factorizing by minus 1. Now can you observe that the two terms in the brackets are similar, same. Therefore here I am going to take the terms inside the bracket as my common term. So if I take this on the other side, I have, when I take this the terms inside the bracket, what is left here? X and plus y. I hope you can do these types of questions. Okay, if you are okay with this, let us move on to the next part. That is the main thing we have to study here. Okay, now here, okay, let me take for an example. These are the things. Okay, this you have an idea. When you solve, you have been doing this. How do you expand? Okay, or solving. Now since there are two brackets, you have to first multiply. Now brackets means multiplication, so you have to multiply the whole thing inside this bracket, the whole thing here, by first by x, and then the whole thing here by plus 2 next. Are you clear with that part? Therefore I'll draw it using diagram. Okay, first okay, I'll just show it here. So you have to I told you have to multiply all these numbers by x and then by plus 2. But when you go to this, the terms inside this bracket, you have two terms. Therefore listen carefully. First you have to multiply this x by x. Next you have to multiply 3 by x, because you have to multiply each of the terms here by each of the terms here. Understand? So you have multiplied both these terms by x. Now again you have to multiply both these terms by plus 2. Is that part clear? Okay, that is what we normally write. First taking x out, you write x multiplied by the whole term here. And then you have plus 2, you have to multiply each of the terms inside the bracket here. Okay, now let us multiply. X into x will give you x squared, x into plus 3 is plus 3x, and then plus 2 into x is plus 2x, and 3 into 2 will give you 6. So you can add these like terms. So the answer you get is plus 5x plus 6. Okay, now from this step you have come to this. Okay, it is like, now from here to here if you go, it is called like factorizing, making it small, taking the common term outside. But here what you have done, just solving. Okay, in this question what we are going to study is that, in this lesson what we are going to study is that the way of going from this method to this part, factorizing. Is that clear? Okay, you know how to solve all these types of questions. But now what we are going to study is how do you proceed from this step to this step. Understand? Factorizing. Okay, let me go for the first example. You have to listen to this very carefully. It is not that easy. Most people, they make mistakes in the basic. There are 2-3 methods to understand this. I'll give you an easy method. Okay, the simple way. First, you have to understand what are these terms. Now you have, now since this is quadratic equation, I told you you have an x squared term, x term, and a constant. Also you have signs for each of the terms. Now here, since we have not written the sign, it is plus. Here also you have plus, plus. Okay. Also you should know that there is a coefficient for each of the x terms. Coefficient means the number in front. You have to state it with the sign. Now if you take here, you have x squared. Okay, what is the coefficient of x squared? Yes, since you have not written anything here, it is equal to 1, and the sign will be plus anyway because you don't have a sign written. Okay, therefore the coefficient of x squared is plus 1. And the coefficient of x is how much? Yeah, it is equal to plus 11. And the constant is equal to, yeah, with the sign you have to say it as plus 30. Okay, okay. Now we will now have to replace. Okay, you always write, when you solve these type of questions, you have to always write in this order: first x squared, then x, and then the constant. Okay, now the next step, we will have to replace this x term by two more terms. You have to replace the x term by two terms, then altogether there will be four terms. The way of replacing is very important, and that is the main thing you have to get into your mind. Okay, this is the way of getting the two terms. Okay, the way of substituting. Observe here, you have to first consider the coefficient of x squared. What is it? It is equal to plus 1. Okay, you have to multiply it by the constant here. What is it? With the sign you have plus 30. So the answer is how much? It is equal to plus 30. Since it is plus, I'll just leave the sign. Now what you have to do is, you have to write all the factors of 30. How do you get plus 30? Don't forget the sign. People always mess up with the sign. Understand, the steps are easy. They always go wrong with the signs, the way of selecting the signs. Okay, so here you have 30. What are the ways of getting 30? Plus 30. Okay, let me write. Since you all know 15 into 2, so both should be plus, right? Yeah, plus 15 into plus 2. Also you can say 30 into 1. What are other ways? 10 into 3. Any other ways? Yes, 6 into 5. Now all these you have, what are the signs? Plus, 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 because plus into plus will give you plus. Okay, also you can get this plus 30 by multiplying two negative numbers. Now you have to include them also here. Understand how to replace? You will get all these factors, but instead of plus you will have to write minus. So I'll write that also here. Okay, you have to always write it in one column. I'll write it here: minus 15 into minus 2, and also minus 30 into minus 1. Next is minus 10 into minus 3, and also you can take minus 6 into minus 5. Okay, now observe very carefully. Now after you write all this, now forget all this multiplication mark. Now you know what are the two factors for each of these factors you have written. Now you have to select each of these factors and observe very carefully. You have to add these two. Now if you select this one, you have to add these two and check whether you are getting this term 11 with the sign that is equal to plus 7. Now here this is plus 2. So 15 plus 2 is equal to plus 17. Do you have 17? No. Therefore you have to ignore this. So 30 plus 1. Do you have 31? No, you can ignore this. So 10, this is also plus, this is also plus. So 10 plus 3 is equal to 13. Do you have 13 here? No, ignore this part. Okay, now wait, I'll come to this part and then go to this. Now here you have minus 15 and minus 2. Okay, you have to do the same thing. You have to add both and check. Minus 15 plus minus 2. What is the answer? Same sign means you have to add 17, and what is a common sign? Minus. So when you add these two, what is the answer you get? Minus 17. Do you have minus 17? No. So you can ignore this part as well. So here what is the answer you get? Minus 31. Do you have minus 31? No, ignore it. Here minus 13, ignore it. Here you get minus 11. When you add these two, you get minus 11. Do you have minus 11? No. So you have to ignore that part also. So when you come to this, you have plus 6 plus 5. What is the answer? Plus 11. So you have to select this part. Is that clear? That is the way of selecting. If you can do up to this, that means you are okay with this part. Now observe. You have to write the first part. Now forget about this part and you have to, instead of this 11, you have to use 6 and 5, but observe here both should be plus, so I have to use plus. I have to use plus 6. Also, since this 11 had x term, you cannot forget it. You have to include the x term also. And what is the next term you get? Yes, the next factor is 5. Also, you have to include x. Is that clear? And finally, you have the constant 30. Is that clear? What you have done is, instead of this 11x, you have substituted it with 6x and 5x. If you add both, anyways, you are going to get 11x. What is the way of selecting? You have to write all the factors, add both, and check whether you are getting this middle term. Okay, now how do you factorize? This is easy. First, consider only these two terms. What is common out of these two? X is common. So write x. If you take x out, x plus 6. So what is common here? Plus 5. So when you take 5 out, x is there plus how much? 6. So can you observe? Like the one we did earlier. X plus 6 is common, the one inside the bracket. So take x plus 6 out and open another bracket. And what are the terms? Left, x plus 5. This is the answer. This is the way of solving. Okay, let us move on to one more question. That is a squared minus 8a plus 12. Okay, now first of all you have to check whether you have you written these in the correct order. Yes, first it can be x squared, a squared, b squared, whatever. Okay, algebraic term. So you have written it in the same order. What is the next step? Find the coefficient of the first term, a squared, yes, and then multiply it by the constant. So here also you have plus 1 plus 12 will give you plus 12. Now write all the terms. Somehow you have to, what are the factors of plus 12? How do we get plus 12? Plus 4 into plus 3. Also plus 12 into plus 1. Any other ways? Yes, 6 into plus 2. Now let us go on to minus. Minus 4 into minus, yes, minus 4 into minus 3. Also minus 12 into minus 1. Also minus 6 into minus 2. Okay, now what is the next step? This is the important step. You have to add each of these. Now see, if you select this factor, you have to add both of these and then check whether you are getting how much. Yes, minus 8. Now if you add two plus numbers, is there a chance of getting a minus number? No. So you can neglect all this part. So anyway, it should be one of this. Okay, now if you add 4 and 3, it is equal to minus 7. You have to add both minus numbers and negative numbers. So it is not the answer. Here minus 13. Do you get the answer? No. So this is the one we have to select. So how do you replace? Yes, how did I teach you? You have to take minus 6 and replace it with this term a. Next you have minus 2a plus 12. What's the next step? It is easy. Consider two terms. What is common out of these two terms? A is common, therefore a minus 6. Here what is common? Yeah, you can take minus 2 out. Just check your basic factorizing things. Okay, so if you take minus 2 out, a minus 6. So can you observe that these two brackets are same? So take that term out and what is left? A minus 2. That's all. Are you clear with this part? Okay, and then let us move on to one more question. That is, okay, I'll start from here. You have a question like this. Okay, now this is a quadratic equation. Why? You have an x term with the highest power 2. Now I told you, whenever you solve these types of questions, there is an order to write. First you have to write the square term, then the x term, and then the constant. Therefore I'll interchange and write it in that order. So first I get minus x squared minus x plus 6, isn't it? Yes. Next, what should you do? Yeah, it looks easy. First you have to now multiply Yes, you have to multiply them. What is the coefficient of x squared? Minus 1 into, what is the coefficient constant here? Plus 6. That is going to give you minus 6. Now you have to write all the terms of minus 6. How do you get minus 6? In order to get minus 6, when you multiply two numbers, one should be plus, the other should be positive. So let me write minus 6 into plus 1. Next you can even interchange the sign and write. That is 6 into minus 1. Also we can write plus 3 into minus 2. Also minus 2 into plus 3. That's all, right? Yes. Now add both these numbers out of these each factors and check whether you are getting how much. Yes, you should get minus 1. Now observe, if I add this minus 6 plus 1, what is the answer? Check your grade 9 knowledge, grade 8 knowledge. Yes, the answer is minus 5. So here it is plus 5, here it is plus 1, here you get, I have not interchanged the sign here, sorry about it. So here minus 1. So which one are you going to select? Yes. So you have to replace this minus x by plus 2x minus 3x plus 6. Even if you change this and write, there is no harm. Okay. Now what is common? You can take minus x out. If you take minus x out, x is there. Yeah, in order to get plus, you should get minus how much? 2. And here you can take minus 3 out. Therefore x how much? Minus 2. Now observe, x minus 2 is common. Take it out. What is left? Minus x minus 3. That's all. Was it clear? Okay. One more type. Let us take a squared. A squared. It is. I hope it is. Okay. AB minus AB minus 20b squared. Okay, is that the question? Yes. Now how do you solve? And ways of solving. Okay, how do you solve this? Okay, now you have a, b terms and all that. Now all these times in our examples we had only one unknown term. Now in this question you have to, like we considered x squared, a squared, like our examples, you have to consider the same thing here. Okay, you can consider like x squared, you can consider a squared here. Now let us say, now we already wrote x squared, right? So in that case I will write a squared minus, what was the next term? I always told you that x squared, next it should be x term and then the constant, see whatever number. So when you have x squared, okay, you have a squared. What should be the next term? It should be in x. Now instead of x squared, if you have a squared, here what should you have? Yes, you should have in terms of a. Is that clear? Okay. Now, since a is also there, it represents like x, right? I'm going to write a here and consider b as a constant. Why didn't you had like these types of questions? Instead of these two, I have b here. What is my term? Yeah, it is in x, a squared, then a. Finally, it is a constant. You don't have to worry about the constant. Okay, why x, a squared, and then a term, and then finally it should have a normal constant, whatever number. So that is, you have 2b squared. Okay. Now what you have to do next? Yes, multiply coefficient of this by the constant. That will give you how much? Plus 1 into minus 20b squared. Minus 20b squared. Now you have to write all the factors of this. Okay. How do you write all the factors? How do you get all the factors? There is something important here. Now when you replace this, you have a squared, something two terms. In both of these terms, okay, both of these terms you should replace with a, no, with a. I told you when it has x, you have to replace this number with a. Is that clear? With a. Therefore here, and when you write all the factors of this, and when you add the two factors, the answer you should get should be equal to what? The coefficient of this. What is the coefficient of a? It is equal to minus b. Now let us write all the coefficients. What are the coefficients you can write? Yes, think of this number, that is 20, minus 20. Minus 20 means you have to replace it with one factor using 1 plus and minus. Now think of 20. What are the ways? You can use, yes, 10 into 2 minus plus, or wait, let me finish. I'm not finished here. One should be minus, one should be plus. Also you can write 5 into 4, right? One is plus, one is minus. One is minus, one is plus. Okay, now since you have b squared here, anyway after you add both of these you should get b, right? But when you add only these two numbers, will you get b? No. In order to get b, you should have b in each of these terms. Therefore, since it is b squared, you can write b here. There is no rule, just use this step. b and b. Okay, now if you add two like terms, b and b, answer also will be in b. Now add both these two terms and check whether you are getting minus b. Now I can simply take, this is not the answer, this is not the answer, this is not the answer, this is the answer. So you have to replace this term by these two terms. So let me write, I told you even I can interchange. So in this question I am going to interchange it. Okay, no problem, you can even interchange. Yes, so here what is the value you will be getting? Yes, so you have 4b, and also you don't forget this a. Okay, I have interchanged it. Here you have 5b, also you have to include a, and minus 20b squared. Now take these two terms, consider these two terms, take the common term out. What is the common term here? A is common, therefore a plus how much? You can take 4b. When you come to this side, what is the common term? Minus 5, and you can take also b. So when you take minus b out, a plus 4b. Now the terms inside the bracket is common to these two. Therefore take all the terms what is inside the bracket, and what is left, yes, write it inside the bracket. So a minus 5b. This is the way of factorizing. Okay, maybe the hardest one you can get is of this type. Okay, and let us move on to one more question. That is this is my fifth example. 6x squared plus 3x minus 3. Okay, what is the way of solving? Okay, one, since each of these term coefficients are divisible by 3, first you can perform that. Okay, then when you divide all these terms by 3, you will get 2x squared plus x minus 1. Okay, now doesn't it look simple? Yes. Now how do you solve? Yes, take the coefficient of the x squared term, 2 into what is the constant? Minus 1, that will give you minus 2. Now write all the terms, all the factors of minus 2. How do you get minus 2? If this is minus, that means one of the term will be minus and one will be in plus. The only possible way is this. Sorry, this is plus. This is the only possible way. Okay, now out of this add both and check whether you are getting plus 1. Where do you get plus 1? Only here, right? So replace this term by these two and include the x also, and you have minus x and minus 1. Now consider these two terms, consider these two terms. Here if you consider these two terms, 2x is common, x plus 1, also here minus 1 is common, x plus 1. So take this as the common term, x plus 1 is common, and then 2x minus 1 is here. That's all. Okay, only this part you have to just spend some time and finally get the factors and then just solving, factorizing. Okay, and the sixth example, 2y squared minus 5 they have, okay, 5ya plus 3a squared. Okay, now consider, now this is like the example we did. Now consider you can, instead of x squared, like x term, x squared, x term, and then the constant, you can take y squared. You can consider y squared. Even you can interchange and take a squared as our x term. Okay, and you can interchange, no harm, because you have an a squared here and the next term, middle term, a term has an x here. Okay, now if I consider y as my x term, I can write 2y squared, the same thing. Okay, y, therefore I'll interchange and write it this way, plus 3a squared. This is a constant. Now what should I do next step? Yeah, you have to multiply the coefficient of y squared term and the constant. That will give you 2 into 3, 6a squared. Now write all the factors of 6a squared. Okay, if you are good in this, you don't have to write all the factors. Once you write 2 or 3 factors, once you look at the factors, you can directly substitute here. Understand? You can replace. Is that clear? Okay, now inside, this is the first part, the beginning, I'll write all the factors. What are the ways of getting plus 6a squared? You can write 3 into 2. Also, since you have a squared, include a here. Also 6 into 6a into 1a. Okay, and also you can use, yes, both minus. This is also minus, even this is minus. Now add both and check for which factors, which pair of factors do you get minus 5. This will be your answer. Therefore you have to, next step, you have to substitute. Yes, instead of minus 5, you have to substitute with this, including the y term. So that will give you minus 2ay plus 3a squared. Now consider these two terms, what is common? Y is common, therefore 2y minus 3a, and here what is common? Minus a is common, therefore 2y minus 3a. Now can you see that this is common? Yes, take it out. So once you take it out, you have this left. That's all. Okay, solve more examples and then you will be okay with this part. Okay, and the next part of factors of quadratic equation is difference of two squares. Now this part you can just understand it by the words given here. Okay, now this is something. Now look here, you have it depends on difference. Now in maths, what do you mean by difference? Difference means subtraction. Difference of subtraction of two something, a two number or something, they are stating something, okay, of two squares. Now what do you mean by squares? Squares means square of a number, maybe x squared or maybe y squared or whatever. Understand? Maybe whatever, maybe x plus 1, maybe whole thing squared, whatever. Now you are going to subtract two, you are going to find the difference between two square numbers. Understand? Okay, that is, let me go for an example. Straight away I'll move on to an example. Now look here, say you have an example, x squared minus a squared. Now isn't this a difference of two squares? Yes, right? You have two numbers, both these numbers are squares, and you have difference. It cannot be minus. Remember that. It should be difference. It should be a subtraction. Now there is a shortcut method to factorize this. Okay, I'll straight away go to the shortcut method. This question may be repeated in your exams. For part 1, mostly you will get a question based on this. Okay, this is the way of factorizing. First, hide the part with square part. What do we have here? X minus a. you have to first use the bracket and write x minus a into, take the plus part of it, x plus a. That's all. Understand? Okay. If they ask you to factorize these types of terms, the only thing you have to do is just you can write it in this format. Okay. Now you factorize and went to this part. Now let us check from this. Let us simplify, solve, and then check whether we are getting this x squared minus a squared. Let me take this part, x minus a and x plus a. How did you solve? You have to multiply both of these terms by x first and then both of these terms by minus a then. Okay. Now let me take x first, and then you have x plus a, and then you have minus a. You have to multiply both of these terms by minus a. So x into x is x squared, x into a is plus xa. Here you have minus xa and minus a squared. Now look here, plus and minus, this will cancel off. So what is left? X squared minus a squared. So the way of factorizing is easy for these types of questions. Okay, let me take one more example. Say they have asked you to factorize this using the knowledge of difference of two squares. What is the first step you have to start? Now since this is a square number, okay, done. The minus sign is also there. What is the other requirement? Both these numbers should be in square form. Do you have this in square form? No, but you can change this. Now you can write 25 as, yes, 5 squared. Therefore you can simply write this as x minus 5 and x plus 5. Was it easy? Yes. Next, one more example. X squared minus 1. Now look here, you have a minus sign, that requirement is done, and then you have, yes, the first term is square term, that is done, and then the next term also should be square term. Now you have 1. How do you make it to square term? Yes, any idea? Yes, you can write 1 to the power anything, always it will give you 1. Therefore I'll write 1 squared. So how do we factorize? Yes, x minus 1, x plus 1. Okay, let me move on to a bit complex. Okay, I'll start from 1. Say a question of this type. What is the way of factorizing? Now observe, some terms are in square terms, but this 25, is it in square term? No. This 9? No. Now always when you factorize these types of questions, always the whole term should be in square term. Now this is in square term, this cannot be in normal number form. Understand? Okay. Therefore let me change. 25 I can write as 5 squared a squared, minus I can write 9 as 3 squared and b squared as it is already situated. Okay. Now you can directly simplify or factorize, or look here, I'm going to write it this way. Is that clear? 3b and a common square. Now it's like this is as like one term, this is as another term. Therefore how do you factorize? Yes, you write this first term minus the second term inside one bracket, and using the other bracket, first term plus the second term. You can even interchange, no harm. Okay, multiplication. You can even interchange. Okay. One more example. X plus 4 whole thing squared minus y squared. How do you solve this? Don't go to expand or do anything. The only requirement is you should have two numbers with square terms. Here you have one term, consider this as one term. It is a square term, this is also a square term, you have a minus. Then just consider this as one term. That is x plus 4 minus y, and what is the other way of factorizing? X plus 4 plus y. You can do a small simplification here. That will give you x plus 2y. Is that clear? Okay. And let me move on to another example. A plus 5 squared minus a minus 1 whole thing squared. Now here also you have to consider, even though this looks like big term expressions, you have to just consider this as one term. This also has one term. Therefore, you have the requirements. Two terms are there, two square terms are there. Also you have the minus sign. Okay, so how do you write? Yes, open a bracket, a plus 5. With this you have to minus this whole thing. Therefore minus a minus 1. This is inside one bracket. In the other bracket, write the first term. Since you use minus here, you should use plus. Plus what is inside this bracket, a minus 1. Now let us solve. You have a plus 5, minus into plus will give you minus a, and minus into minus 1 will give you plus 1. Also here you have a plus 5, plus into a is plus a, plus into minus is minus a. Now let us solve. This will cancel off, and what is left? 5 plus 1 is equal to 6, and here a plus a is equal to 2a, 5 minus 1 is equal to plus 4. Okay, is that done? Okay, and then the fourth part. How do you solve? Now even you can take 2 out here. 2 is common to both of these. Taking 2 out will give you another answer. Okay, is that clear? Taking 2 out. And then the fourth one, let me do the last example. That is 2x plus 3 whole thing squared minus x minus 2 whole thing squared. Now are the requirements done? Yes, you have two square terms. The whole thing is squared, therefore you consider this as one term, square term. Difference, that is also done. So how do you write? First open the bracket, write this term, that is 2x plus 3, use minus, plus, or whatever you can even interchange. So I'll use minus first and then write all the terms here. Close the bracket. Now go to the next bracket, write all the terms here. Since you use minus here, you have to use plus and write all the terms here. Okay, now simplify. Here you have 2x plus 3, minus into x is minus x, minus into minus 2 is plus 2. And here you have 2x plus 3, and here plus into x is plus x, plus into minus is minus 2. Now you can solve here. 2x minus x is equal to x, 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. And this side 2x plus x is equal to 3x, 3 minus 2 is equal to plus 1. So this is all you have. Solve more questions on this and subscribe our channel for more videos, and thank you for watching.